Short, bald, and angry.
You sometimes find that your dreams get in the way of your dream. Get out of here! Dreams blocking dreams. Dreams preventing my dreams from dreaming. Get out of here, Baldy! He called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 she-bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys.
I'm a shooter, goddammit.
Cross me again, I'll put a bullet through your head!
Not that kind of shooter. I'm a peace-loving shooter. A cameraman. I might appear to be short, bald, and angry on the outside, but I assure you I am tall, happy, and handsome on the inside. I am a walking contradiction. Let's get this thing started. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to episode 14 of the Short, Bald, and Angry podcast. My name is Ian.studiocinco, and my guest this week is Marcus Jade. I want to say something like this week's edition of Short, Bald, and Angry is a Thanksgiving special, but I'm fully on the bandwagon of saying fuck Thanksgiving, and especially fuck anyone who celebrates colonization, and especially fuck anyone who lacks respect for Native Americans. Those Native Americans who helped the cold and diseased and starving colonizers, only to be later betrayed and massacred and subjugated. Fuck Thanksgiving, but love one another. So this week is not a Thanksgiving special, but I hope you listen to it over Thanksgiving break with family and friends. Get comfy. Hopefully you're not in a food coma so you can actually listen. But fuck it, if you need to pass out while listening, I hope this brings you some pleasant dreams or wild nightmares, whatever you're into. I hope you have them. Hope you have it. This episode might not be a Thanksgiving special, but it is a special episode. Marcus Jade, a guy I barely know, but who I instantly loved when I met him. I could listen to this guy play all day. Marcus is a musician and a singer-songwriter. You got to make sure you check out the 4 songs he performed at the end of this episode. He played 3 original songs: Free to Kala, Midwest Toast, and Penitentiary Blues. The Penitentiary Blues is like a Delta Blues-inspired song with a little nod to Son House's Death Letter at the beginning. And then at the end he threw in a little extra tune. He played a Robert Johnson song, Travelin' Riverside Blues. So make sure you check those out. They're really amazing. This guy plays through his heart, straight from the gut. I met Marcus at the Living Gallery during the Brooklyn Wildlife Summer Festival back in September. I was hanging the art I made for the festival on the walls. And shout out Nissa Frank. Thanks Nissa Frank, owner of the Living Gallery, for letting me do that. And as I was hanging my art, Marcus came up and he introduced himself and told me that he liked my work. So obviously I'm going to like anyone who tells me that they like my work. But I really didn't know who he was yet. And but I asked if he was going to be playing, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to be playing tonight." So the night unfolded. Every night of the Brooklyn Wildlife Summer Festival was a bit different. The lineup that night at the Living Gallery included Brittany Crush, my buddy Citizen, spelled Ctyzn, Malafor performing satirical folk music, Mario Benitez was doing comedy, Maya Lowe, Melissa Hunter Gurney was reading her prose. My man Stank Nitty was rapping, backed up by Deuce Ellis on beats. Thomas Fukularo was reading some impassioned poetry, very reminiscent of beat poetry. And Young Toussaint was rapping. Brian Sheffield read some of his poetry. Bradman was doing slam poetry. Shane O'Hanlon, Sydney Phoenix, Azia. And I remember there was a really drunk woman who wandered in off the street and was interrupting almost everybody who was performing. And she kept almost getting kicked out, But every time she managed to avoid it and just managed to stay in the space. And I think it definitely added to the overall experience. It was a pretty awesome night. I also met 2 awesome and inspired dudes who really love my work. And as I said, if you love my work, I'm probably going to love you too. But shout out Johnny Flatbush and my new homie Epic. The entire night had a real nostalgic feel for me. It was definitely due to Malafor's folk songs and Bradman's slam poetry, and Thomas Fukularo and Melissa Hunter Gurney and Brian Sheffield reading prose and poetry. I felt like I was transported back to my younger days when I was first getting into Bob Dylan and the Beat Poets. It felt like we had the modern version of it going on. And then there was Marcus Jade. And like I said, I'd never met him before. But he took the stage, and right away I had a huge grin on my face. Because Marcus was playing Delta Blues. In some cases, he was playing some covers of Delta Blues songs. But mostly, he was playing his own version of it. His own take on it. You know, and almost everyone has heard of the blues, but few people really know the Delta Blues. For me, there's a lot about it to love, but perhaps my favorite thing about it is how those who play it really use the guitar for all it's worth. There's no lazy strumming in the blues. There's a lot of complicated finger play and slapping. A good blues musician uses the guitar not just to make the melody, but they end up slapping it and using it as a percussive instrument as well. And then, then they belt their heart out. They sing passionately. And Marcus was doing this live in front of my own two eyes. Like I said, I think few of the people I encounter know the Delta Blues. The Delta Blues is something my friend Todd Rawson and Mark Petrie got me into back in probably in like 2001 or 2002, and I got pretty obsessed with it. I was always frustrated because I couldn't get anyone else to listen to it, and when they did listen, they wouldn't give it a chance. It just sounded like old to them, and they weren't interested. And as Mr. Jade says on this episode, after I ask him how he got into the Delta Blues, he says getting into the Delta Blues is a journey. And I have to agree with that. I think a lot of people like to describe their experience discovering music, and we usually say something like, I discovered this music, or we say, I got into this music. But I think it's the other way around. I think that music gets into us, and we may not be receptive at first. We might hear something and brush it off, but then years later, for whatever reason, our minds are ready, and that's when the music gets us. We don't get music; it gets us, and I think that's very true of the Delta Blues. Once it gets you, it's got you for life. The blues is like super commodified and misunderstood at this point. People, I think they think of B.B. King and the House of Blues, like electric blues. But I urge everyone to check out the true root of it all. Listen to Son House and Robert Johnson and Blind Willie McTell and Howlin' Wolf and there's so many more. On this episode, Marcus invited me to sell my art during Bushwick Open Studios at the Unruly Collective, and I ended up getting invited to a different show, so I never hit him up. And in all honesty, I forgot he even invited me till I listened back to this. So damn man, I'm sorry about I never got back to you, but thank you, and we'll do something in the future for sure, man. As I've already said on this podcast, I had hit a kind of rock bottom in my life back in September, but at the same time, I was at the Brooklyn Wildlife Summer Festival for the first week, which was simultaneously a high point in my life. So I know for a fact that the day I recorded this podcast with Marcus, I was in a real rough place, but this show was really saving my life at that time. It's good to get out of your head when your life is falling apart. There's a strength in not stressing and worrying and making everything always about you. Marcus was the perfect person for me to talk to. You'll hear how thoughtful and humble he is. It's a breath of fresh air. I was blessed to be talking with Marcus, and even more blessed to be hearing his music. There was a glitch in recording this episode. If you're a close listener, you'll hear at one point we're talking about practice, and suddenly it's like it skips ahead. I didn't cut anything out. It's just a weird glitch. That's how the audio file recorded. I'm not sure how much is missing, but I don't think it's much. But on the note of practice, I think there's an important lesson to learn from Marcus for artists of all discipline, but especially musicians. I see a lot of musicians perform all the time, and all different kinds of talents doing all kinds of different things. If there's one consistent thing, it's that it's kind of clear that people don't practice enough. You see a musician like Marcus get up there, and this guy obviously fucking practices. And there's no way around it. You got to do it. You want to be performing or acting in a creative field. You got to know your scales. You got to know all the tricks of the trade, and you got to practice them. You got to be fluent in your craft. So a guy like Marcus is really a good model for that because he clearly practices. Marcus's message at the end of the podcast, when I asked him what advice he has for young creative people just getting started, is ditch the script, which serendipitously I just happened to watch the fucking awesome movie Sorry for Bothering You, where the telemarketer characters in the film have have the order from management to STITS, STTS, stick to the script. But Marcus says ditch the script. Open up to possibilities and new ways of doing things. He also says something else that I love. He says art makes life better. Art allows you to perceive life in a myriad of different ways. How many different ways are there to view life? I personally have a wide way of perceiving reality. I don't know how many ways, but let's just say I have like 25 different ways of viewing life. Maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. But then that means everyone else has their own myriad ways of viewing life. There's so many perspectives, so many different ways through life. How many are there? So many. If you're stuck in life, shift your perspective. Don't let other people force you into their own limited view of who you are. Open it up. Open up your own life. Live life, as Marcus says. And on that note, if you agree that art makes life better, and you like what I'm doing, please consider donating to my Patreon. Every day this struggle gets realer for me. I do pay my own bills, and I work a wide variety of jobs to do so. And I've been blessed this year, but I really do need I do need you to help if I'm going to transition into this new phase of my creative career. Anything you can donate will help. Hop in at the $1 level. I'm still giving all patrons a presidential twat sticker. So no matter how much you give me, you get a sticker. Or just pass my work along to other people. Just listen, just share it. That's what really counts. Today is Tuesday, November 20th, 2 days before Thanksgiving, and I'm about to head to work. I'm back working for the Maniac Pumpkin Carvers. Yesterday was day 1 of 2 long days of carving. Today will be day 2, and I will probably go until very late tonight. It's going to make getting this episode out difficult, but that's just par for the course of my life. Not getting enough sleep. I'm very tired right now, but I'm psyched to be working with the Maniacs again. They got the team back in there, and we're all carving superheroes, all kinds of superheroes. But I'm personally carving Marvel characters, which I'm grateful for because it feels like I'm being given an extra opportunity to pay tribute to Stan Lee. His death reminds me of his life, which serves as a model of what I want to be. Super creative. I need to finish a comic I wrote. And the holidays usually make it very hard to get anything done, but hopefully I'll have some time in the coming weeks to work on it a little bit. And hopefully I can finally finish it in the new year. I'm heading to my parents' house in Smithtown tomorrow for Thanksgiving, but I will be back in Brooklyn on Friday. I'll be shooting more on O'Henny Cornelius' next music video, Lifeline. Friday night, we will be at Gamba Forest in Greenpoint. His comedy variety show, Smokes and Jokes, should end around 11:30 p.m., and we will then proceed to shoot some of Lifeline. I highly recommend you come to the show and then stick around and join us for the shoot. Get in this music video, participate in some real genuine culture, not that corporate shit, that real shit. It goes down Friday night. Be there. All right. If you need to use the restroom or get a snack, maybe some Thanksgiving leftovers, now's a good time to do that because this podcast is about to begin. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Today I'm very proud to bring you Marcus Jade. How's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going good. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm all right. I don't really want to say like I've been better,
Right.
but it's a rough time and all. But yeah, I'm doing pretty.
I hear that.
Things are exciting, A lot of good things going on.
That's the truth. That's
Yeah.
the truth.
I mean, meeting you was exciting. It was like seeing you play was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to really describe it. It was like, damn.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
I've never really seen anyone play the blues like you in IRL, in real
Really?
life. Yeah.
Really? Ah,
Just,
man.
just
thank
YouTube
you.
clips of all the Delta blues guys who I love.
Right.
That's it.
Damn, man. Thank you. I appreciate that for real.
Yeah.
For real.
And like I knew what I was listening to. I was like, oh shit, this guy's doing fucking Delta blues. It's like, I mean, how'd you get into all that in the first place?
It's kind of a journey.
Yeah.
And I think getting into Delta blues is kind of a journey anyway.
Yeah.
But it was sort of a process, I would say the least. I was always the kid that was in the music. It was probably 16 to 17. No, it was 14, 15 that I learned how to play the guitar.
Oh, you were that old already?
Yeah.
Because I saw you on your website. It says you taught yourself, right?
Self-taught.
Yeah.
Self-taught. And so by the time I was like 16, that's when I got my first guitar.
Yo, man, you play like somebody's been playing his whole life.
Yeah. I wish it was like that. As far as everything else, like singing, I've been singing my whole life. I was always in gospel choirs.
Yeah.
I was always in traveling choirs and gospel choirs as a kid in school and outside of school. So it was always an extracurricular activity. And then there was this moment, my whole journey to the Delta Blues is like the journey from, I started out as like a hip-hop head, which I still am. But then I got into punk rock, hardcore, heavy metal, sludge metal, and then it kind of like retrograded into this idea of like, oh, I can play blues. When it came to blues, like I kind of got into blues early because my family is from Mississippi, so it was not necessarily like new music, but it was hard to really like discern what it is.
Right.
And then as I started getting older, I would say probably about like 21 is when I really started getting into blues. And it wasn't necessarily like an immediate like response of like, I'm just going to start like learning. It was actually a journey. It was learning who Son House was.
Right. He's like considered one of the fathers of the whole
Yep.
thing, right?
Yeah.
But I always look back on it like, but it was probably happening long before him. He probably just he just took credit for it because that was when they first started recording it, right?
Right.
He was the grandfather when they started recording it.
Well, in a way, the thing about Son House, before I get into that, it was Son House, and then there was like Robert Johnson, and then there was like Booker White, and then it was Lightning Hawkins. And I learned all of them through Jimi Hendrix. And I was a big Jimi Hendrix fan, still am. Yeah. And it was all of that kind of, even like B.B. King and all these like big city blues musicians, I kind of was like, well, what were they listening to?
Yeah.
And even like, it was funny, like I remember seeing this documentary, which is why I was like, I was a metalhead. There was this documentary called Metal, a Headbanger's Journey.
Yeah. And
I think it was like the lead singer of Lamb of God was like blues music. That's where it all comes from. And it was just like, I was like, oh, okay.
And a lot of people know that. Like, a lot of people know all of, like, the modern rock comes from blues. Yeah. I think they all think of, like, house of blues, like electric-style blues.
Right.
Not many people are actually familiar with the Delta blues. And if they are, all they know is Robert Johnson.
Right. And a lot of people, granted, you know, a music historian could really, like, break it down, or, like, a music fanatic. But a lot of people can't, like, really trace that lineage of how it, like, really started from like Delta blues all the way up to, you know, like heavy metal now, like thrash metal, punk rock, you know, stuff like that. So people kind of, I was really interested even in that process of just like, where did it all come from? And it was just like, keep pulling back, and it was just the bare bones of the work songs, the prison songs, the gospel, the church music. And then it was the blues, and it was like I said, there was sort of familiarity, family coming from the South, moving to Indianapolis, and then so like I always had this kind of like gospel understanding, and then, you know, the work song, understanding that, understanding the field songs, the field chants, the field hollers, and then blues. Like it just like formulated and solidified in my soul once I really started understanding almost like the emotional aspect of what blues music is. And after that, there's really no turning back. I feel like I resonate with blues simply because there's a simplicity, but then there's also like this sense of community and continuity that at the end of the day, you're not necessarily reinventing the wheel, so to speak.
Right.
You're passing along this torch from one blues musician to another. And the beauty, I think the biggest beauty about Delta blues music, which I guess you can see, I guess you actually, unfortunately, you can't see in like music now, especially rap music, is that like there was this camaraderie, there was this sense of like, you know, there's nobody better than you. like Muddy Waters was like, you know, you can't if you ain't like, who do you think you are if you think you can play like BB King? And there was like this sense of respect of being like, BB King is really good, Lightning Hopkins is really good. And so like all the blues musicians pay homage and pay respects to the ones before them, and they want to keep this going for the ones after them.
Yeah.
And so I kind of gravitated towards that noble sense into it, and like I said, no turning back. No turning back.
Yeah. So how many years would you say you have been actually playing the blues proper?
Probably, like I said, I kind of got into it, started really around like 21, 22. But I guess I started when I considered myself good was recent. I'm 27 now, so I would say like 24, 25, when I was just like, oh, okay.
So it feels semi-new to you then,
If
like you're finally coming into your own.
You know what? It feels like I'm coming into it, and I'm starting to like live in that truth.
Yeah.
But I got a long way to go. And that's
what
right.
all artists say.
Right, and that's out of the sheer respect that, you know
Yeah.
what, the best blues musicians are like 50, 60 years old.
Right.
And they wasn't really worried about the money. They wasn't worried about the youth in the sense of like, you know, they trying to relive this youthful past. They was like, this is the now. This is like the stuff that's been going on, that's going on now, and this is like my life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like one of those things. I kind of feel like your blues music gets better the older you get, simply because it's like you really start to break into that emotional ground to be able to convey blues the way that like the greats did. You know. So.
Blind Willie McTell, that's another guy.
Man, I go on for days.
Yeah.
My favorite, along with Son House and Robert Johnson, is also Booker White. And Booker White was the cousin of B.B. King. Okay. And he plays a mean Delta slide, and it's unreal, to be honest.
I'm actually not familiar with his stuff.
I highly recommend him.
Yeah.
Aberdeen, Mississippi blues will knock you back.
Yeah.
You'll knock you back, and
that's what I'm looking for. I like getting knocked back, slapped in the face and shit.
Yeah. The moment you listen to it, it's just like when I listened to it, I thought I knew something. Yeah. And then when I listened to that, I was just like back to the drawing board.
Yeah,
completely back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
So it's like there's always something. Blind Willie McTell, Blind Lemon Jefferson, Blind Willie Johnson.
Yeah, a lot of blind dudes.
Yeah,
but they're actually blind.
Right. Well, they actually were. Blind Willie McTell was blind. Willie Johnson was blind.
Oh, they all were.
And Lemon Jefferson was pretty blind. But nowadays that like it's kind of took on this thing of just being like blind boy this, blind boy that, and sometimes it's like.
So some of them were blind, some of them were just using the name.
Right, it's I guess it's like the persona.
Yeah, it's a persona.
It's like the Lil in rap music. Like everybody's Lil this, young boy this, and stuff like that. And it's just like it's the persona that kind of like carries with it.
Yeah,
but
yeah, totally, man. So Marcus Jade, is that your birth name?
Yeah. I dropped my last name, but Marcus Jade is my first and middle name.
Nice.
I kind of grew up always being called Marcus Jade.
Yeah.
My grandmother always called me Marky Mark, but my dad, my mom, my brothers.
That's too white. You don't want to be Marky Mark.
Nah, there's already, some guy walking around with that. Yeah. So it's like.
Yeah, I can't say I know any other Marcus Jade, so it's a good name, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Blind Marcus Jade?
Nah, how about Lightning Marcus Jade? Lightning. It's smooth. I don't know. Good, something dangerous.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're in Brooklyn.
You gotta keep up with the wild. Exactly.
Yeah. So I saw. I'm basically just going off your website now. We'll go on. We'll go down that bio stuff. This is gonna be a two-parter. We're gonna continue this tomorrow. But I mean, so we talked about the blues. You're primarily a solo dude. Do you play with groups sometimes too?
There's some moments when I'm playing with other musicians.
Yeah.
And it's actually not not exclusively blues when that happens.
Right, you're playing like in their bands.
I'm playing in their bands. I'm playing, a bit of rock and roll, a bit of jazz.
I gotta see you do heavy metal sometime, man.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
I drop it down to like drop C, drop D, and really kind of get into it. And so like
electric guitar. Or?
Yeah. But my chops have been kind of dry lately when it comes to that stuff. I haven't got into too much. Every February, a good friend of mine and we all get together. They're all from like Florida, and we actually get together and play Zydeco music.
Right.
And that's like Cajun, Louisiana style blues, and it's like I'll get down and play some stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And there's some moments where like I have a friend that plays country, so I'll accompany with her.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's in like a whole jazz ensemble, and I'll get down and play with them.
Yeah.
So it all kind of formulates and melds together. Exclusively, I play by myself mostly though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really it's a learning curve even.
I was telling you, I want to introduce you to my friends, the Brooklyn Rocker Massive.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like sometimes worlds just they don't mix. They stay very separate, and we'll see if it ever happens. But
yeah, no. I looked up their website. I checked it out. I checked it out definitely. There was somebody
very multifaceted. They have like many. There's so many bands that come out of that group. You know?
Yeah, and don't they have like a woman's rocker that's a part of it? Yeah, I had met somebody that was a part of that, and they was like, you should check us out, and I was like.
I was telling you, if I don't introduce you to them, you'll meet them. So it's inevitable. I feel like it's fate.
Right, exactly. It's like one of those things. It's like I heard it twice now. So now I'm ready to figure it out. I'm ready to see them.
I mean, they perform at least once a week, but we could talk about fuck it. I'll shout them out now. They have a weekly residency right now. It's at Jalopy Theater. You know Jalopy?
Oh, yeah. That's pretty much everybody I like sort of hang out with. That whole Jalopy crew. Yeah. Like I'm friends with Farrell Foster.
It's a great.
He puts together the Roots and Ruckus.
Yeah.
Taylor Plays is a good friend of mine. She plays there a lot. Blind Boy Paxton, I know him.
Yeah, you know Blind Dude.
Yeah.
Is he blind or is he not blind?
Man, that guy is a lot of things, and he's a good guitar player too. But I don't think he's blind.
He's not blind.
No. Right. One time he was like, "I see you got a box in front of you," and I was like, "Aren't you blind?"
Nice.
Yeah.
Does he wear glasses and pretend to be blind?
No, but he closes his eyes when he plays, so maybe that's a thing.
Yeah. So do you though.
Yeah.
So we have that mutual friend, Vlad from Artery. You're doing Artery shows, which is like, you take shows into people's living rooms. Anybody listening right now, I think they could reach out to. Well, they should reach out to Vlad at Artery.
Well, you can reach out to me.
They can reach out directly to Marcus.
You can reach out to me on Artery as well. I'm on the Artery website, so I check it really often.
I haven't used Artery, so it's like a platform where you can create an account, and then just book shows and the artists you like at your living room.
Yeah, you can put it together all yourself, and a lot of times it's a collaboration too, where even if you just put out an idea and people see it, people will gravitate towards it and be like, I want to do something, or to send you a message. And if you fill out the profile correctly, put enough meat in the whole sandwich and stuff, people will take a bite out of it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So bring shows into your living room. The Artery is a fucking badass thing.
Thank you. Yeah,
I actually haven't. I've only been to like a couple outdoor shows, like not Artery shows proper.
Okay.
But
okay.
And then I also saw on your website that you were playing down South by Southwest. How was all that?
Yeah.
Like not like part of the main festival, doing like side shows, or were you part of the main festival too?
Well, when it came to South by Southwest, there was this thing called I think it was called the Red Gorilla Showcase. Yeah. And that's actually, it takes part during South by Southwest, and it's kind of like, it's on the same strip, it's in the same venues as South by Southwest, but the thing is that like they're not like charging you $400-$500 for a press badge, for a badge just to perform.
Yeah.
Like they, you send them an email, they hear about you, that if they like you, they come play. And
nice.
I was down there, I got hooked up with some guys actually from Brooklyn, a part of this thing called Unit J.
Okay.
And like I said, mutual friends meeting other mutual friends, and the next thing you know, they was like, "Hey, you want to play for Red Gorilla?" And I was like, "Sure." And that was a whole thing all in itself, along with doing Artery shows and doing South by Southwest shows.
So Vlad was down there doing artery shows during South by Southwest.
Yeah, and I was also doing shows in Dallas while I was down there in Austin. So I was kind of moving around while I was doing like shows. So it was like I was down there for a week. I believe I did 10 shows.
Nice.
So it was almost like 2 shows a day. Eat, sleep, play blues, repeat. Like it was literally like that. It was like a solid workflow.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, like after South by Southwest, the bands from the Red Gorilla was like, "You want to come to Austin with us?" And I was like, "Yeah," or not Austin, excuse me. "You want to come to New Orleans with us?" And I was like, "Shit, yeah."
Yeah.
And so like right after South by Southwest, my friend Taylor and I decided to go to New Orleans, and we played with the same people all over again.
Like road trip or fly?
A road trip all over Bourbon Street, all over Frenchman Street.
Nice, man.
We acted a damn fool. Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, it was good. And my family, I got some cousins and some uncles and nieces, and cousins, uncles, and aunts that live down there. So like, for me, I've been there before. It was a walk in a park, and then like running into family, hanging out with them, and then flipping around, being at a show. It was a beautiful vacation type thing.
Nice, man.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I envy musicians for their adventures on the road. I'm always thinking about trying it myself as an artist.
You ought to.
I'm probably gonna try to do it with musicians if I can't find like a troupe of artists to do it with.
Oh yeah.
But you gotta team up. It's like doing it alone is just kind of crazy.
Right.
What's the Sable project?
Oh,
What's
man.
that about?
Oh, this Sable project is a artist residency / retreat that this guy named Otto Pierce, he kind of started it himself along with his friends, and it's been going on for the last 5 years. But the whole premise of it is that you get 2 months of just time to work on your craft, all the while you're actually kind of like doing a work trade. So I worked on a farm pretty much for like the last 2 months.
Wow.
I was there from June to July, all of June, all of July. I think I left actually once to play Northside Fest here, and I immediately went back up to a mountain. I was on the Sable project is kind of named after the mountain, Sable Mountain, which is kind of in Stockbridge, Vermont. It's in the middle of nowhere. You're probably like 2-3 miles.
There, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like 2-3 miles up on a mountain, along with like 3 more miles of just like trail.
That's
complete
awesome.
like forest.
Get a lot of mental clarity up there.
A lot of mental clarity. It was, and a lot of good clean air.
Yeah.
A lot of time to really like contemplate, and a lot of time to build my chops a little bit more. I did nothing but practice, farm, ate my own food that I grew, and
How long is the whole thing? How long was?
Yeah, so 2 months. So I would say 8 weeks, 9 weeks apiece.
Cool.
But then there's like there's portions of it. So you got the June and July, and then you got the July and August, and you got the August and September. So it's just like they kind of have 5-6 artists every so few amount every couple months.
That's awesome.
And we just really like spend all of our time, all of our days just like working on our craft.
Yeah.
There was these 2 ladies that were from like upstate New York, and they were doing a work trade, and they were painting and everything, and they were doing their thing, but they also like decided to like gut out this small little mini bus and turn it into like a convertible like apartment. They was like, "We're gonna go road tripping," and I was like, "That's dope." So it was like people like that. It was some actors that was out there. There was other musicians, some poets, some dancers. So it was a little eclectic group of people, and we all just kind of like vibed with each other. And every few weeks, every like other week, we did a food and art, which is we basically made pizzas, we made pasta, spaghetti, we gave everybody beer, we hung out, but we also presented our artwork to the community. So it was like Stockbridge all in itself is probably like 200 people, and so like people that lived on the mountain, there's probably like 15 people along with us, and like they all came around. They all came, and they
That's real community, right?
Right.
Community at its simplest. And, yeah.
Community at its simplest, and it was just like it's a thing that like they were really attracted to the fact that like we were out there guerrilla gardening.
Yeah.
And it's like
Because they do it too.
Yeah, but the thing about Vermont in the grand scheme of things is that there's not a lot of young people.
Yeah.
So like there's just this like on one side of the spectrum you got like middle-aged families, kind of starting out, a couple of kids, 3, 4, 5, and then on the other side of the spectrum you have the elderly, senior citizens, veterans, so it was like 60, 70 years old. It's really few and far in between when you see like somebody that's like 20, 21,
right.
or something like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, there's another young person. Hey, how you doing? And it's just like they were really into the fact that it was just like we had 20 acres all to ourselves, and we're out there gardening, and we were making everything from peas to carrots to garlic scapes to peas.
Are you a vegetarian?
No, but
you were up there.
Exclusively for 2 months. I ate nothing but vegetables, fruit and vegetables. I would say, however, just to I don't want to I don't want to offend anybody, but I ate venison for the first time out there, and I cooked it myself. I grilled it. I took the skin off of the meat of the slab, and I threw all the fixings on it. Put garlic, rosemary, thyme, a little bit of brown sugar, some Vermont maple syrup, and just like let it marinate, sit in there, and just grilled it myself. And it was the first time I ate deer ever, so it was just like, wow.
What part are you afraid to offend people about? The fact that you skinned it yourself?
No, I think that like people are very conscious about like Bambi. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like they don't want to hear anything negative about Bambi.
Well, the meat eaters, I don't think will care.
No, they won't. They won't.
Yeah. It's just the vegans.
Right.
The vegans are gonna hate you. That's all. So then I'm still just going down this list of things I saw on your website.
Yeah.
There's the Black Power potluck dinners, man.
Yeah, that's actually... That
seems pretty self-explanatory, but maybe it's not. I don't know.
Well, yeah, in many ways, it was something that I came up with.
That was your
my
baby?
my brainchild. And the Black Power potluck is really this idea of just like, look, there's so much that's kind of like going on right now in the world. Black Lives Matter. That's the first and foremost. That's where I stand.
I'm with you, man.
And thank you. I appreciate that. And I wanted to, my friendscape, I guess you can say, is really, really eclectic. So I just was like, look, let's get together and like let's give the people that like they have something to say, they need something to say, and let's give them the space to be able to perform, but also like shed light on these issues that they care about, that I care about. But also food, bring people together. And I think that like the first time I did it was so amazing. I would say this, it was probably like the first Black Power potluck dinner I did was it was probably like 3 or 4 black people and everybody else was white. But then
we're living in gentrified Brooklyn, right?
In Bed-Stuy.
In Bed-Stuy.
And
gentrified Bed-Stuy.
One of my friends, her husband, and she brought all of her kids, and she was like, I'm going to bring some food. Like, don't worry about it. And she brought in like 6, 7 pots of just like home style, like Senegalese food.
I'm hungry right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like people's mouths like salivated and dropped. It was just like, seriously, this is what's going to happen? And like, you know what? Everybody that was there got a plate, got time to really like talk. And the one thing that I'm really happy about is that the white folks that was there listened, and that's what it's about. Like I wasn't expecting I wasn't expecting anybody. I didn't expect whether it was going to be waned or in the sense of there was going to be more white people versus black people. I didn't care about that. I just wanted like this thing to work so that way people could be like, this is something that happened, so we can keep it up. And also,
so there is music.
There's music.
But people get up and tell stories.
Tell stories. I had an individual that really kind of got into like American history, and he really presented this piece. He's a guy. He was actually the host, and he works for Vice. And he did a beautiful presentation where he explained that, like, you know, America's history has always been involved with the fact that, like, they've always given, you know, less, or they've always mistreated the people underneath the elite, i.e. black people, poor whites, anybody that's not, you know, in their favor. And it was just an amazing piece to think that, like, the things that, you know, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, did when it came to the New Deal, a lot of those things helped, you know, the white middle class that was coming out of World War II, or coming out and using the GI Bill along with Truman. So he presented that. Then he got into the idea of that, you know, we had COINTEL in the 60s, counterintelligence program, funded by the FBI, started it by J. Edgar Hoover, with the full intention to make sure that we didn't have no black messiah, no black, like, leader. That's why it's like
they were sabotaging everybody.
They were sabotaging everything.
Influential at that
everybody,
time, yeah.
Exactly. And so, like, you
at home and abroad.
So you literally, like, you know, you had these sanctioned assassinations. I don't want to get too much into it, but that's what it was about.
Yeah.
And he touched on it, and he vibed on it. And I think, like, it's kind of crazy that, like, this is American history. This is history that, like, you can read in a book.
Yeah, this is a conspiracy.
Right. It's not a conspiracy.
This is the true history.
It's the true history. And, you know, this is stuff that, like, if you went to a really good high school, you would know. If you took a African American diaspora class in college, you will know.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that, like, you know, most of the white people that was in there didn't know. And
really?
so,
that night they didn't know?
They were surprised. They was really surprised.
It's true, yeah. I'm lucky that my father kind of raised me on all that shit. But,
right.
But a lot of people actually just literally don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I've ran into people that didn't know who Malcolm X was. I ran into white folks that don't know who Malcolm X is or was and what he did.
That seems unbelievable.
And I think that, like, that's why I started the Black Power Potluck, to enlighten the individuals that want to be enlightened.
Yeah.
This is not exclusively black. It's not. Yeah. Must include whites. It's about just, like, bringing people together with food and knowledge.
That's what I figured. I figured it wasn't like black exclusive get together and rally and start a new Black Panther movement. It was more like a
I think it's
come together, understand each other.
Right, yeah. Come together, and there's food. That's I'm a fan of food, but I'm also a fan of community.
Yeah.
So just those two things. Yeah.
There's a lot of good community things going on in the world these days.
Yeah.
That's what you always got to remember when you think, like, the world is so fucked up, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's like what communities are doing around the world though is amazing, and we're living in a lucky time where that could make a difference. We could come together and change the world for the better.
Right.
If we do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and then. Let's just finish off that list, man. The Robert Johnson discussion showcase. And again, sounds pretty self-explanatory, but
oh yeah.
Is that still going on?
Yeah, I actually do. It's called the Blues Revisited, and that's another thing that I started on Artery that I've kind of taken it.
It's called the Blues Revisited.
The Blues Revisited, and the first one that I did was about Robert Johnson, but the Blues Revisited, it says what it is. It's that, like, we get together. I present a presentation about a blues musician in particular that I'm influenced by, and I try to get other blues musicians to, like, you know, perform a cover, perform a piece by the blues musician, you know, in regards to the person we're talking about.
Sweet.
And so
there's like a little bit of history and playing. And you'd be surprised that, like, the first time I did the Robert Johnson Revisited showcase discussion, there were people from that, like, just flew in from Alabama, just flew in from Mississippi, and was like, because it has its own draw, yeah.
Yeah,
totally,
and
man.
they was like, we heard about
fans
this,
are fans,
and we wanted, exactly, and we wanted to be a part of this. The first time I did it,
that's awesome.
I did it in Cobble Hill, so it was just like over 80 people showed up.
Wow.
I had Hubby Jenkins of the Carolina Chocolate Drops perform with me.
Cool.
And he did an amazing set. I did a set as well. And the draw was just, like, people coming for blues, and I was just really, really like I was really humbled by it, and I was also just really touched simply because blues music is just actually something I'm really passionate about. So therefore, it's like this thing where I wanted to talk about it, and then I wanted to play, and then I wanted to like the biggest thing that I want to tell people about blues music is that black people made blues music. African Americans, people from the African diaspora that were slaves here in America, honed blues music into what it is.
And it's no joke. It literally, like everybody who made music after that, it literally all stems from that.
Right.
Like, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. So that was the whole premise of the Robert Johnson. This week, actually, next Sunday, I'm actually putting together another Blues Revisited showcase here in Bushwick about Muddy Waters. So
that's this coming week?
September 23rd.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Please, yeah. If you're not doing that,
I don't know if I can get this out before then. So.
Oh, okay.
I always like to get the episodes out. I don't have crazy listenership right now anyway. I'm getting started.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm gonna blast this out. Everybody gonna know.
The 23rd. That's a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man. I'm thinking we should end part 1 right now, just because my dog is going crazy in the background. I don't want to piss off my roommate too much, and
wait.
Probably gotta take her for a walk.
For real?
So the listeners, they don't need to. It doesn't matter. This is all gonna be cut together, but we're gonna come back tomorrow and keep doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
For
letting me be a part of this.
Dude,
yeah.
I appreciate you being a part of this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I turned my phone off.
Whether it's usable or not, we'll figure out. I think it's good.
Sweet.
You can always cut shit out.
All right.
So, welcome back, man.
Thank you.
To the listeners, they won't be able to tell the difference, but it's actually been a night. You went out. You went to a cacao ceremony and a sound healing, sound bath, right?
Yep.
And I ended up drinking beer out of coffee cups with my old roommate, walking around the neighborhood. That's what I did last night.
All right. That's legit. That's legit for real.
That's how we do it. The brown bag, that shit could get you a ticket. You be smart out there, you know.
Right.
Do it in a coffee cup. You hold it close and you pretend like it's cold, like you're cold. It doesn't work so well in the summer, but in the winter it's foolproof.
Right. Exactly. That's how to do it, man.
But yeah, we ended off last night. We kind of just went through the list of things that you do and that you have done.
Mm-hmm.
If before this ends, if there's something that we didn't talk about that you do and you want to shout out, just do it, man. Or maybe even now if you can think of something.
I can't think of anything right now, but definitely.
Yeah, if something pops into your head.
For sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Talk about it. Is there anything we can promote though for you? Like anything that's coming out soon or anything that you're doing?
Well, the only thing would be, actually September 29th, I am putting together the second Bushwick Open Studios at Unruly Collective, and it's at 200 Cooper Street.
That's a nighttime thing?
It's an all-day thing.
All-day thing.
So I would say from 2 to 10.
Where's that around here?
That is directly on the other side of Bushwick.
Okay.
Wilson Avenue stop. So the Wilson Avenue stop, you go 1 block up, Cooper Street, take a left, it's right there.
Okay.
It's literally there.
I'm planning on selling my art on the street.
Okay.
If it's not raining.
Okay.
Because, I don't know, I can't really open up a studio, so.
Yeah. That would be good. Actually, side note, if you want to sell your art actually at Unruly Collective, please let me know.
I will.
It's actually an art gallery. So
is it?
Yeah. We're always looking for new artists. They're always looking for artists to represent.
Look at that. I'm not really, I promise I'm not trying to hustle my game.
Oh, no.
Actually, I can't promise that.
I like your
myself.
work. Yeah, and I support your work, man. So I like your work, and
thank you, man.
I want to get my type of people into that place.
Yeah.
When you start to get the feel of the place, you'll be like,
cool.
I like it. Yeah.
Unruly Collective.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Nice, man. Yeah, let's talk about that. So we kind of talked about how long it took you to get into what you're doing and how long you've been doing it. Yeah. We didn't really. So you grew up in Indianapolis, that's right?
Mm-hmm.
Your whole young life before a certain age.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I actually didn't move. I didn't move officially out of Indiana until I was 22.
Yeah.
So I'm 27 now. Excuse me, 23 maybe. So yeah, I'm 27 now. Well, I'll be 27 next week. So yeah, it's been a while.
So you've been here for about like 4 years?
4 years, correct.
Cool.
Yep, born and raised. I was kind of born on the south side of Indianapolis, and just to be kind of geographically, specific, near Manual High School. But with that said, it's also directly south of kind of like downtown. So I was born more central Indianapolis, and kind of grew up everywhere. To be honest, we kind of grew up poor, so like it was literally like every year moved somewhere else.
Oh, you moved around a lot
Yeah.
around Indianapolis, though?
Yeah, but predominantly on the west side. So like, when people claim what hood they from, what set they from in Indianapolis, I couldn't really claim any particular neighborhood. I just claimed the west side because I was born on the south side, and then, like I said, I was raised in Hallville, Riverside, 2G, which is 21st, which is closer to downtown, and then Land, which is a little bit more 30th, but then you got Trefo, which is 34th Street, and then Trey 8. And that is mostly the northwest side, which is Trey 8, which is where I kind of 38th Street, which is where my mom kind of settled us after a few years. And
Do you have brothers and sisters?
yes, yes I
talk about
do.
that?
Oh no, we didn't
right?
talk about it.
How many brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers, and then I have 1 sister. My oldest brother is 30, and then my youngest brother is 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
A little baby in the family.
little bitty baby.
They're in Indianapolis still?
They're all back in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So I was the only one that kind of ventured out. My
Sister, too?
No, my sister is 21, and she lives in Indianapolis as well.
Cool.
Everybody just kind of decided to, stay settled there. So
Yeah.
fine.
Nice.
Hmm.
I don't really know. I think I've been there, but I don't really know what it's like.
Right. When people say that to me, most likely you've probably been there just driving through.
I don't remember. I
than
feel like we stopped off. We maybe ate some food at some point.
Yep.
When I was
and
a
kept
kid,
driving.
a very young kid. Yeah. I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing in Indianapolis? What's there?
Well, there is sort of kind of a lot. It's actually slightly a tourist city.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a sports city. You got the Indianapolis Colts. We have the Indianapolis Ice, which is a minor league hockey team. We have the Indianapolis Indians, which is a minor league baseball team as well. And then the biggest thing, which is I grew up in the town Speedway, and Speedway is a small little part of town closer to Hallville, and Speedway is actually known for the Indianapolis 500. I grew up with it practically in my backyard.
Are you into that stuff?
I wouldn't say I'm into it, but I know. Like
about
I could sit up and talk to somebody that is into NASCAR and be like, yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth. I watched it, I followed it because when NASCAR or the Indy 500 happens, it takes over the whole city. So like you kind of got to know about it because traffic, race day traffic. And
Was that fun, or did it just mess everything up?
It's sort of fun because the good thing about the Indianapolis 500 in particular is that it happens on the Sunday before Memorial Day. So if I'm not mistaken, Memorial Day usually kind of happens on like that last Monday of May. The Indianapolis 500 happens the day before.
This dog.
Oh, yeah.
She's a nightmare. It's probably bad for you, like this close quarters barking, but I got these headphones on and she's making me go deaf over here.
Right.
I'm gonna have to cut this out.
I
gotta put you in your crate, and then you're gonna bark in the background.
All the attentions.
Yeah, nonstop. I can play with her for hours and she'll still be like this. Where's the bone, Luna? Where's your bone? Where's your bone?
The bone.
Let me just put a big treat in her tongue.
The bone.
Sorry, man. Oh, yeah. Life with the puppy.
She about to take a nap though.
The puppy blues, man.
Right.
It's been affecting me for the last year.
Cool. Nice glasses, by the way, man.
The Warby Parkers.
Yeah. Online?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm terrified of the day I break him or something.
But you can get them cheaper on Warby Parker. So
yeah, Warby Parker's affordable. It's good.
Yeah. I had to go to ASAP. I broke my glasses, and so like I've been struggling because I'm like nearsighted. I got astigmatism.
Yeah.
So like it's always a struggle, but I should go back home to go get some more someday.
Do you read music? Or do you ever?
I've self-taught myself how to read music. Now I'm not the greatest like sight reader, but I know the notes. I know how to get down on it. And with the good thing about guitar is that 9 times out of 10 when you read sheet music for guitar, there's always tablature.
Yeah.
So like there's this comparison to kind of understand.
Yeah, you can see.
Yeah. And I think especially like with guitar and music notation is that, especially with blues in particular, is that like you understand the accidentals, you understand like the worried notes, and you understand how to kind of hit the 8th notes and the 16th.
I can't read music like I'm pretty bad at reading music, but I can read the tabs easily.
Right.
Pick up songs that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. I completely self-taught myself, so it was just like.
That's amazing, man. Like there weren't any teachers along the way, like.
No.
Not even like picking friends' brains or anything. Like you just learned from them, watching them. I'm assuming.
I think that there was actually a time when I first moved to New York City.
Yeah.
I got in touch with like my neighbors were these jazz musicians, and they kind of really explained it to me. But then like they're all like studying to be like teachers, and so like what they did a lot of the times when they was trying to like explain notes to me was actually explain other musicians' notes. Yeah. So people like Miles Davis, John Coltrane, they would show me like their like old notebooks and just show me that like they barely even really knew music too, and so like people just kind of like put a dot here, put a little circle here, and just kind of went with it. Whereas like
loose sketchy stuff,
very loose sketch, and so there was like this kind of mnemonic image in my head of just like, at the end of the day, you don't really have to know too deeply about, really kind of where it hits and where it stands and how to place it and have this sense of perfection. Like there's no real need to be perfect.
Yeah, you just kind of get
the gist of it and get the feel of it.
Especially with jazz, it's so improvisational anyway, right?
Right,
like,
exactly. I've seen musicians, especially when it comes to jazz musicians, like they'll put the scale out and then they hit like the first like 8 bars, and then after that everything is just like in their head. They're just like going off. Yeah. So it's just like there's this kind of like rough draft of like where it needs to be. Then other than that.
Yeah. I'm not totally equipped to talk about this, but I know there's like a ton of minimalist compositions and like modern compositions where it's just like it gives you like a very general thing of like what each instrument can play and like who starts when, and it's really loose within that. Like there's a lot of compositions like that, right?
Yep, there's a lot of like I remember looking at it's called All Blues on the Miles Davis album Blue and Green. Or Kind of Blue, excuse me. And like I remember sitting up with some friends and like these were the changes, but then after that like everything else is like gone, and I was like, okay, where's the rest of the music? And it's just like it's in here. You make it. You make it, you figure it out. You just
But everybody feeds off of each other. It's like
everybody.
Structured jamming is the best. It's like because sometimes like all out jams they get a little muddy sometimes, right? And it's like especially depending on who's there. Yeah, like all it takes is like 3 people to be like kind of sloppy, and then it turns into diarrhea. But if there's some structure to it, it's amazing, and like everybody can thrive that way.
Exactly. Yep.
I wrote a song one time. I grew up playing violin. Not one.
Wow.
I've written a bunch of songs, but like I mean like I wrote it. You know, I wrote the sheet music.
Right.
I don't know where it is. I really want to find that.
Okay,
See
that's
what
what I
the
was
hell
gonna say. You still play? You still
no,
be playing?
man. I mean, I could. It's like a
Oh.
bike, but
Yeah.
I'm not good at it for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
like pretty out of practice.
It's all good.
Every time I pick it up, it's like I'll do it for a week, and I'll get like things will kind of come back by the end of the week, and then like 5 years go by again.
Right. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
I think it was for me. It was a big jump of discipline to just be like, I am actually gonna sit and teach myself. I'm actually gonna sit and like be on the job and have a music book in my hand.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work, and even now it's still work.
How much are you practicing these days?
Usually, nowadays, honestly, kind of started a new little gig, and I'm doing some side work. But with that being said, generally speaking, I'm practicing like 4 or 5 days out of the week for 4 hours.
Wow, man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I figured, you can't be as good as you and not do that. It's like you have to stay limber and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to stay limber, and honestly, I've grown to love the practice.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of a I like to think of it as like a meditation process of just like really, this is the time that I can get by myself.
Yeah.
So like when I'm practicing, it really is just this moment where it's just like, you know, going through scales, going through, you know, finger warm-ups, then also do like a 15-minute vocal warm-up.
Yeah.
And then I also take like a 5-10 minute break in between. So there's like these spurts where it's like 15-minute practice, 10-minute break, 15-minute practice, 10-minute break. Sometimes I'm doing like a 5-minute break. Sometimes I'm doing like, you know, 2 minutes, and then I'm getting back on it, you know.
Is your routine real like consistent, or is life hectic and you gotta squeeze it in where you can?
Right now, life is kind of hectic, but generally speaking, I even at that, I think that like it's where I find my center.
Yeah.
It's the only time that it's like, even if I'm just like shooting a shit on the guitar, there's a certain sense of like practice and running through scales and running through you know the notes, or practicing songs. So it's just like refreshing, trying to strengthen the memory.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I like the
Thank
way you
you.
think about it. If you can think about it as meditation and like look forward to it.
Yeah.
'Cause, like it's not just city life. City life keeps us all running around like
Yup.
fools, but even just adult life, you could be anywhere.
Right.
But to maintain like the practice is crucial, and that's like for all art. And it's just it's difficult because then when we start getting involved with like nightlife or whatever it is that we get involved in, that's kind of practice, but it's not really.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and like you have to maintain that like I don't know.
That sense of
You're
just
shaking your
self.
head. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, the sense of I like to think of it for me as the sense of self.
Yeah.
I just, my life is kind of, I feel like it's always just kind of built differently as opposed to everyone else's. You know, everybody's life is just built differently on their needs and wants and the situations. But for me, it was just, I don't get that time to really like connect with myself. I just feel like, respectfully, like I do this and I do that, and then I'm working and then I'm moving all the time, and so it's just like, to get 4 hours a day is a blessing. To get 3 hours is a blessing. But either way, it's just like, sit, practice, play.
Yeah.
Because I just rather be prepared for a situation that might not happen than have a situation that happen that I'm not prepared for.
Right. Well said. Yeah. And especially I love it. That applies to all art forms too, but especially with music. Yeah, because you just kind of got to be ready to hit it.
Yeah.
Got to be ready to run.
Gotta be ready to run. Gotta have the calluses on my fingers fresh.
Yeah. Do you busk on the street a lot?
Yeah, I actually try to as much as I can.
Where do you go usually?
I have a secret spot, which I'm about to.
You don't have to blow it. Don't blow up your spot.
No, you know what? I'll tell it anyway because it is what it is. It's actually Prospect Park.
Hold on, think twice about it.
No,
I'm
just gonna say because everybody. I just ran into a bunch of musicians the other day and we all said the same thing. It's Prospect Park, and it's underneath the tunnels.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter how much money I'm making. The point is that the tunnels resonate so.
It's got good resonance.
Yeah, and so like you don't. For me, like all I rock is an acoustic guitar. I don't need to bring anything else, and I got my voice, and you can hear it.
That'd be a good place to shoot some live recordings. Record live and shoot it and everything.
Yeah, every time. I'm telling you, like, every time I'm out there busking on a good day, there's always, like, 5 or 6 people with a camera that just, like, stop and watch me play because it's that sound and it's just that scene that's just, like, completely set up. And I'm like, yeah. And it's really a place where it's, like, it's a consistent move around type situation where it's, like, it's at a park, but the place in particular, like, people are kind of coming and going, and people can stop and stare, and it's not a very congested place in the first place. Like, I'm not necessarily looking to make a bunch of money.
Do you make how much? Do you mind me asking how much you make on average when you do that?
One time, average, I would say probably like $30, $40 a week. But then there's these days, and I'm not gonna lie to you, there's these days where, like, something will happen and somebody might throw a 20 in there. I actually also play on Canal Street on, like, the JMZ line, like right there where the Q and the JMZ kind of like connect, and like right on that terminal, like when I play, I've seen people, you know, drop me buckets and just like throw me the rest of their change, or throw me a couple dollars. I've also played on Wall Street, near Chambers Street, or like Wall Street, and I might as well throw it out there. The secret is to play closer at night versus early in the day, which is cool. But the Wall Street, you know, suits, the Wall Street Sharks are actually more willing to give you money at night versus in the day.
You think it's because they've been drinking, or
I think it's because it's like
they're done with the stressful part of
the day.
Yep,
they're done with the stressful part of the day, and like I've seen cats. I have friends that are like saxophone players or even drummers, and even me with my guitar. It's kind of that middle-aged crowd that's in the blues music, and yeah, like they're done for the day, and like you're playing some tunes, and they're like, yeah, I dig this. Here's a couple bucks. So like. That's a good thing. That's an income for real. So,
I know for a fact there are definitely buskers who make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Some people barely make any, but I feel like there's also a lot of buskers who just suck. It's just like, no, I'm sorry to say it. It's like I'm not going to call anyone out or shout anyone out that way. But
yeah, no disrespect.
Some of them are just pretty lousy, and you're telling me sometimes you only make $30 a week. I'm like, damn. But I like that you're going. There's a meditative quality to it for you,
right.
Obviously. But
right, I think the money is kind of secondary, even though it is important, especially in a city like this. But it's actually really secondary because a lot of the times, I'm getting connects. I'm getting business cards when I'm out there. I'm getting I'm getting phone numbers and Instagram follows. Yeah. And like those things kind of like help in the long run. Yeah, that's
the new age. Like we need Instagram followers are super important. Building up, doing like a mailing list, very important.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's FaceTime. You're you're spreading your brand. Do you think of it as a brand? Do you go there, or do you like to just think of yourself as a human?
I understand the business aspect of, like, this is something that I want to do in the long run. And so it really kind of has to do with marketing yourself with kind of, I wouldn't call myself, or I wouldn't say what I do or how I do it would be like a brand per se. Yeah. But there is a marketing scheme that kind of like I have to do. I've kind of learned how to do what I do a certain way to appeal to, you know, the audience that I guess I'm still, even in some ways, still kind of looking for, but also have like found and kind of garnered and kind of like.
You feel like you have a nice base that's built up.
And I think I like to, you know, when we talked about Artery the other day, I like to thank Artery a lot too for like kind of opening up that window of just like giving me a new marketing scheme to really like approach and pursue fans in a different way. Because you're battling when you're busking, you're battling against the elements, the trains, other people, and you're actually battling. And I just realized this the other day. You know, the biggest thing that you're battling is somebody on their phone
I was
listening
gonna
to
that
music.
that was gonna be my guess. Yeah.
Right, that's the biggest battle.
People are so glued to their phones everywhere. It's kind of, it makes the city super lame.
Right.
Like I remember having a very romantic view in New York City when I first moved here, and I loved it. And I could just like walk around for hours, with, no phone.
Right.
And then like the phones took over, and now it's like. It's kind of just lame out there. Like shows aren't as fun. People are all like half paying attention, or they got their phones out.
They're ready to record and kind of like document you.
And we're all kind of guilty of it. Like I record video, I shoot photo, but I try to be present. Like on the subways I draw, I don't look at my phone, and like when I see musicians, I'll stop and listen or like and talk to them and shit.
Right. Thanks.
But
that means a lot.
Yeah.
Real. Even if you haven't seen me, you do it to other people. That's what it's really
yeah.
about.
I mean, it's always been like that, even without the phones or before smartphones. People were probably still as detached because that's the way the city was. It's just like everybody's moving a mile a minute and like in a rush. But the phones just make it obvious, like you're pretty alone out there.
Right. But it's like those beautiful moments, like even outside of me, that like I'll see a musician and they're out there hustling, they're out there grinding. And you would see somebody on the phone, kind of looking at their phone, but then like, they hit the high note, and then all of a sudden
it catches them.
Like
that moment where it catches the ear.
Right. That just lets me know that like, the phone's not everything. There's still like this genuine human connection that we still like yearn for.
Yeah.
And I think music is a conduit outside of a lot of things, and I think that like when you see moments like that, you forget that like we live in the 21st century and technology is kind of like taking over. So I love those moments when that happens.
No, I mean I thank you and all musicians who go and do that out on the street because it makes the city human. It's like we feel so like trapped in a system, and like the concrete jungle is very oppressive to a lot of people. But all it takes is you walk by, see Marcus Jade playing on a corner, and that'll definitely make you feel better about everything, man.
Yeah,
that's what you guys. That's what you all do out there.
Definitely,
it's an undervalued service. You all need more money. We need to throw more money at Marcus Jade and everybody on the street.
Right. That's what I'm hoping too. Like at the end of the day, I think my goal is to really just be the best guitar player that I can be.
Yeah.
And I think that there's like there's a reproach to kind of just like being able to grab somebody's like attention in the 21st century. There's a technique. I feel like there's like a technique. It's a skill.
Yeah.
And so like, you're doing that, and on top of just practicing and being a musician. So there's a lot of work.
Totally, man.
Mm-hmm.
Have there been any? I hate to ask this question, but have there been any bad encounters out in the street? Anything like bad happened to you out there? Like other performers fighting with you or lunatics losing their shit?
No, because now I'll tell you a story, but to answer your question,
you haven't had any bad
no,
encounters.
because it's not like this. Even though this is the 21st century, I think the beauty about busking, that's like what a lot of people don't really kind of I don't think they really kind of take the time to understand is that the people that are busking are mostly like classical musicians, drummers, people that like play a certain type of music that like appeals to a general audience. And so I play blues music. There's a times where I've run into musicians and they've already taken my spot. And I just sit there and sit there and listen to them, probably throw a couple of dollars and wait, and legitimately wait. But in that process, a conversation happens. In that process, we sharing math, we talking, and we're shooting the shit. And 9 times out of 10, like I said, there's always like a classical piano player. There's always like a jazz musician that's playing, the trumpet, or somebody that's playing the violin.
Yeah.
And so like there's this level of respect, because it's not
you
like
could all be playing together.
Right, we could all be playing together, but it's also like it's not like we're on the train doing like Showtime or something like that, or it's not like we're in a rap battle. Like that, those things like that happen on Union Square.
You could battle,
right? We could, and that
I've seen
some stuff that
I've seen
happens in the new
buskers
year.
fight, you know,
right?
so like it happens.
Right, it does happen.
But they tend to be the ones who are like that. You can see they're like their screws are a little loose to begin with. Like you're pretty level headed and nice. Like
right, thank you.
The ones who fight are kind of a little like out there to begin with. So
right, and you don't really see those type of people like kind of mingling with the rest of the pack. Now, granted, like the more you start getting out there and busking, you really start to see the same people that, like, for me, I'm very fortunate to have seen like a lot of the same people that I've seen on the streets that, like, before I really got heavily into playing music in New York. A lot of the buskers that I saw, I'm friends with now. Yeah. So, like, there's this guy, Keenan Amari. He's an amazing. I've seen him bust, like, hundreds of thousands of times before I even got to know him. And now he's one of my good friends. And another guy, Christ the Artist, he was one of the people.
Christ the Artist?
Yeah, Christian, I think his name is, but he calls himself Christ.
Nice.
And he's in this duo called Canary Swords. And, yeah, like.
Nice names, man.
I used to see the dude. I was flipping tacos at Calexico for about 2 years.
Which one? There's only
all of
one?
Them.
All of them? You went to all? Okay.
So Greenpoint, the Upper East Side, and then like there's one in Park Slope, and then I've always did the summer festivals, Broadway Bites, Mad Eats, and then I was doing Coney Island. Yeah. So like I'd be tired. I get home, be on the train at midnight, and I see this cat. I remember always seeing this cat. And he used to play so fluidly and never had the balls to, like, talk to him. And then a year and a half later, I'm playing at this place called the H Loft up on 135th in Harlem. And I seen Keenan Amari, I seen Christ, I seen another artist named Shapri. And all these people...
She's with the Brooklyn Wildlife Crew, right? Or is that someone else? No, another Shapri.
Another Shapri, if I'm not mistaken. And these were cats that I had seen up and down for like a good year and a half, like busking, hustling the streets. And then I ended up playing a show with all of them, and they was like, yo, you really good. And I was like, y'all the reason why I just decided to get the gumption and like start playing again. I was just like, I started fanning them. Like I started being a fangirl towards them. Yeah. And that's the big exciting thing for me. Has just been, like, you'd be surprised that, like, I spent 2 years here in New York not doing anything. Like, just working 3-4 jobs and trying to pay rent and, like, just being exposed to all these different places. Like, I used to go
the first 3-4 years you were here.
Yeah, first 2 years.
Hard
it was just
land, right?
Yeah, it was just hard. It was just completely hard. But for some reason, like, I remember going to the Jalopy Theater and hearing, Farrah Foster, like, play, and I was just, like, so amazed, and I was like, man, I want to be like that. Now, 2 years later, I know him on a first name basis, and we have each other's phone numbers, and now he's, like, calling me, asking me if I want to play this and I want to play that, and I'm like, it's like Michael Jordan asking you, hey, you want to play a pickup game? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Even if I lose, like, I want to play with you.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Even if I break or tear my ACL, which is most likely if I play basketball right now.
Right. It's like, whatever, man. I want to
tear
be a
my
part
ACL
of it.
With you. Yeah.
I don't know what happened where it was just like, now they look at me.
You just gotta stick it out, man. Right? You stick it out. You be respectful. Yeah. I don't know, the whole pay your dues thing. I think that's like an overused phrase, and it's actually less. I think it's a fool's errand. Well, like paying dues is kind of like there's the metaphorical paying dues, but there's the literal. Like some people are just paying money, paying dues. Right. And it's dangerous. It's like it's not so much paying dues, it's just paying respect. I think more than anything.
And that's what it is. You paying your dues is like the reality of. It's a euphemism of just being like, look, the reality of it is that, the first year, the first 2 years, the first 3 years, you're not gonna make that much money. You're just not. Like, don't worry about that, because the journey, the process is that you're gonna meet so many different people. You're gonna make so many valuable connections. You're gonna forget how much money you're gonna be walking away with sometimes, because you're gonna you're gonna be there and you're gonna get the drink ticket and you're gonna be in there with like 6, 7 of your other friends.
Make sure you get the drink ticket.
Make sure you get the drink ticket, definitely. But don't worry so much about securing the bag. Just get in there and be humble and get in there and like be
present, right?
Be present.
Like watch everybody else, listen to everybody else.
Yeah, be a part.
Tell them what you think about what they did.
Be a part of the community because they gonna bless you. They gonna bless you regardless. Even if you somebody that's just like, I'm there chilling out, I don't play music, but I show up to the show every Wednesday.
Yeah.
You gonna get blessed. One day you gonna get blessed, and they gonna be like, yo, come hang out with us, or yo, you want a beer? You want to chill? You want to talk?
Yeah.
And people, like, as a musician, I do notice that. I might not get a lot of time with everybody, but I actually do notice that. I know when people show up and see me.
Yeah, no, it's always hectic. Everybody's crossing paths. Everybody's got like 5 different things going on at the same time at those things, and like so it's hard to actually show respect. Like you can't just. It's hard to plop down and just watch one person sometimes, you know?
Right. It's
like I try to watch everybody. I try to like sit there, listen close, watch close. But, if I'm selling my stuff, I'm distracted. I have to sell my stuff, or even just like networking, talking to people. But
right. For me, I've read all the music business books to just be like, there's this formula to work the room. But then after a while, I just started realizing like, look, play good, play the way that you imagine, you think, and reminisce on and practice. And it's not gonna matter how you work the room because the people that's gonna like your music, they're gonna gravitate towards you. And half of the battle is like getting somebody to talk to you. Yeah. When you do good, when you present good work, people are just gonna get attracted to it anyway. And all you gotta do is just have like 20 seconds of just being like, thank you. Here's my stuff. This is where you can follow me. But at the end of the day, like, I'm a human being. Come talk to me. Come holler at me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's planting seeds. Like, even if it is a quick, like, Instagram exchange. Mm-hmm. Some people you never see them again. No. Some people you start seeing them over and over again, and that's just the way it goes.
Yep.
You can't really predict who you're going to be, working with or hanging out with or any of that shit. It just kind of happens, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Do you feel like when you were growing up, or even now, there was an element of like rebelling against the system, or systems, or institutions, or anything like that? Did you ever have that in your mind?
Actually, yeah. To be quite frank, I kind of grew up very hectic, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not to put everything on blast, but my parents had me at a very young age,
mm-hmm.
and so they knew what the jump was. And I think I really did grow up in the hood. I hate to make it like that, but like the middle school that I went to, I've seen 4 of my friends get shot and killed. And in high school, I watched like 3 of my other good friends get killed or go to prison. So there was this thing of just like knowing that like, look, you black and you a man. You got 2 strikes against you. So like they just waiting for you to make a move. And that was already like a system I had to fight against. I had teachers that like really kind of pegged me. Granted, I always got and somebody actually explained this to me, that like one of my good friends is like a PhD in psychology, all kind of stuff now. And I was always called the bright kid in class and stuff like that. And then my friend was like, oh, it was probably because you was the only black kid that paid attention in school. And I was just like, yeah, it probably was that. So, like, there was a lot of times where it was just like, and granted, in elementary school, I was the only black boy. And from kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade, I was one of the only black boys, or the only black boy in all of my elementary school classes. And in middle school, I had to go to the inner city school, which was predominantly black. Free books, free lunch, stuff like that, hot pack, cold pack type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there was just a lot of like anxieties that like I saw my peers having to deal with. And understanding their lives in conjunction with mine, it was just like, you go home, in a stressful environment, and then you got to come to school. Like, and this year, and in reality, this your
No
only
relief.
time. Yeah, this your only time to actually like have some type of recess, or even have some type of like
In the school?
in the school where it's just like you don't have to worry about what you're gonna eat tomorrow, like, or where you're gonna sleep the next day and stuff like that. And so I seen a lot of that. And then I went to a school from from middle school all the way up to high school. I had to wear a uniform, and so like there was a lot of
A private school, or
no, it was just
they just had a uniform?
they just had uniforms because the school that I attended, both of the schools I attended was mostly like gang related. So like in order to keep kids from like
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
can't wear blue, can't wear red type stuff.
But
Yeah,
that's like a strategy to stop gang.
right, but it actually doesn't. That's the
doesn't help,
I
right?
hate to say it, but that wasn't the thing that we would.
Oppressing people does not solve any problem.
Right. And I think the biggest part, which is something, not to get too much into it, but the thing about like, you know, when I was growing up, it like I think people didn't care so much about whether you was a Crip or you was a Blood or a Gangster Disciple, but what hood you was from. So I couldn't really hang out with people like I said, I couldn't really determine where I was, like what hood I could claim, simply because we grew up everywhere on the west side. But I knew I was from the west side, and so therefore that cut me in half. If I was like, because I was from the west side, I couldn't hang out with no Hispanic people or people from the east side. Like I was already a mark. I was like, if you hang out with us on this other side, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna beat you up, we're gonna steal shit from you. And so like I had that, but then my older brother was like known on the west side, so when everybody knew who Demery was and they knew who I was, they was like, we're not gonna fuck with you. In fact, you can come hang out with us. So I had a lot of that, but I actually didn't hang out with a lot of people like that. It was almost like a cushion for me to be like so long as everybody knew who my brother was, and long as like I didn't fuck with people exclusively, or I didn't like get on people's nerves, or talk shit, swallow spit type shit, I was already kind of floated. And so it was like this situation where it was like, yeah, it was, you had to worry about people. I had to worry about running into Hallville people, because at this point in time, I lived on 21st Street. I had to worry about like people from Mad Dog or Trefo or Third Ward, because I was from 21st. But I would say the good thing about 21st is that it was one of the most dangerous parts of the neighborhoods in Indianapolis. So coming from like my dad coming from like Hillside, and then like we growing up in 2G, it was just like everybody didn't know nobody.
You get a certain level of respect. People like won't fuck with you because you're from the dangerous part.
Right. But it wasn't. But it was also like that's the backlash. Like, you know, I'm sitting in school suspension, or I'm about to get expelled, and then like the first thing that they do, especially in school, is like, where you from? Where address? What's your address? 2195 North, 22nd Street. Oh no, you one of them boys. And so you get the red stamp and like give that boy like 10-5. Automatically mistreated.
Extension.
Yeah, so it was a lot of times.
That's
like,
some bullshit, huh?
Yeah, I seen a lot of people like come and go. But like I said, like it's kind of crazy and unfortunate. Like I can sit here and really think that like in middle school and high school, it was I guess you say they were bullies, but they were like the badasses that like, did what they wanted to do. They all gone. It was this one dude, his name was Esther, and they called him Head. And he used to be the one. He was from 21st, and I was from 21st too. And so like we sort of knew each other. And he was like, oh, okay, because he would see me in the hood, and he'd be like, all right, he from this area, he okay.
Yeah.
And so, but when there was a rumble about to happen, they was like, yo, 21st about to get into it, where you at? Yeah. And I was just like, I gotta go to choir class.
You weren't into that. You would get away from that shit.
I tried my best to get away from it. Granted that like there was many situations, but like I said, somebody, I hate to say it, hate to be too graphic, but somebody blew his head off on Christmas Day. So like, and then I had a good friend that was like, him and I was everywhere. We was on the football team, we was on the basketball team, we was on the track team together. I didn't realize that his mama was a crack addict, his daddy was a heroin addict, and he ain't had no. There was days where he didn't have nowhere to go, he ain't had nowhere to eat, and so he stuck up some woman, and some dude tried to save the woman. He turned around and shot and killed the man. Now he's doing like 83 years. So it's just like his life is over. I seen another friend. I had another buddy, which was like the turn of us really like having to grow up when I was like 13, 14. I had this buddy named Ramirez Smith. I called him Ram. He was a football cat and everything, and then somebody shot and killed him in the middle of a fight that his sister was getting into, and somebody shot in the crowd, and he caught 2 in the chest, and his sister caught 1 in the stomach, and she had a baby, and the baby fortunately lived, but he ended up dying, and that was the day that, like, you know, when I go back to Indianapolis, people still remember that. People still be like, man, remember when Ram, we all used to hang out and rip and run and shit. And it's just like, yeah, man, a lot of things.
That's a tragic event. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just the truth of just like, I had to rebel more or less towards that versus like the system that was like established to keep us like safe in a way. Like the thing about it, Northwest High School, which is the first high school I went to, which is closed now. But Northwest High School was like one of the worst schools in Indianapolis, and yeah, it was gang fights every day. There was stabbings, there was beatings, there was shootouts, there was all kind of stuff, and it was like that first 2 years of high school was the worst. So like I felt like I had to rebel more or less towards that because, you know, I think my parents really blessed me with just like whooping my ass anytime I got in trouble and being like, we doing this because like you need to understand that the world is much more cynical than what you think, and you only getting a taste of it in high school, but when you really get out in this world, like you say something crazy to somebody, they ain't gonna think twice about killing you. They ain't gonna think twice. You say something crazy to the police officer, you got drugs on you, they ain't gonna think twice about arresting you. So like I had to deal with that, and I think that like my approach to everything was just like least path of resistance. And so like it was like my rebellion was like avoid the gangs, avoid the drugs, avoid, you know, teen pregnancy and stuff like that. It was actually really like that growing up. So it was just like that's what music was for me. It was that cushion to get away from all of that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
You didn't have to like rebel against teachers or.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, but then there was like I said, there was these moments where, I think that's the reason why I'm here today is because I had really great teachers, and they realized that I was actually bored. Like I was the kid that like finished his work.
They saw your potential.
Yeah, and they saw me doing other stuff. Like I did it just so I could do other stuff. I was like, man, if I got to just finish this, if I got to finish this paper just to go to do track or just to be in choir, I don't care if I'm gonna get a B or a C. Like
right.
I'm just gonna get it done. And then they realized that like, oh, he's just trying to get it done so he can do other stuff. And they was like, look, that's cool and everything, but you really gotta study. But then I like had these teachers, and I think that's what like formulated my taste of music was that I had this teacher that gave me I don't know who I was telling this to, but it was this teacher that gave me a copy of what is it called? Band from DC, Bad Brains. The first one, the first album of Bad Brains.
We'd have to Google it.
Yeah, and then they gave me Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited.
Nice.
And I'm 13, 14 years old, and I'm just like, who the hell is Bob Dylan? What significance?
Were you not into it at first?
I was immediately into it. It was one of those things
I got into Bob
like,
Dylan after, like, in college. It was pretty late to Bob Dylan, man.
Yeah. I got into it early. I was also into John Lennon. I wasn't actually. It wasn't until college that I was into the Beatles, but I knew about, you know, Plastic Ono Band. I knew about John Lennon and Yoko Ono at 13, 14.
Cool.
And I had, you know, I was the kid that like had the little MP3 player. It had Instant Karma. cold turkey, working class hero, and I was just like, people was like,
powerful songs.
Right, everybody listening to Young Jock and Jeezy and Lil Wayne and stuff like that. I was legitimately into my shit, and I think it was because what it was more or less like was that I was looking for something different outside of my own norm.
Yeah.
And they was that.
Yeah.
They was really that. And it wasn't really a lot of white kids to connect with at my school. It was probably like 3 or 4 white kids, respectfully, and they weren't even into that music.
Right.
So it was just really me. And it was really those moments where it was just like,
you're really a lone wolf.
Yeah, it was really those moments where it was like the teacher was into Bob Dylan. So like, I would eat my lunch in the classroom to hang out with the teacher to talk to her about like, the Faces of Coltrane and stuff like that. And it was just like, I didn't think too much about what everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I rebelled, but it as I started getting older, what it boiled down to was like, yeah, I was bored when they started realizing that, I really wanted to play music. I really wanted to be in a choir. I really wanted to do other stuff like that. They was like, it'd be one thing if I was like finishing my work just to go back out and sell dope on the street.
Right.
It was I finished my work to hurry up and go in the choir class.
Yeah. And they did figure that out. They saw that and they were able to help foster that.
Yeah.
So you had
and
some good teachers in your
I was
life.
happy for that. Yeah.
Even though it was a bad school, you had some good teachers there.
Yeah.
That's
Shout
always,
out to Vicky Hazel.
Yeah, man. That's always what it comes down to. It's like whether a school is good or bad, never really matters to me. It's like it always comes down to the teachers and the people who do become your friends, if there are any and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, like my one childhood friend in elementary, it was his mother that ended up being like my middle school teacher. So it was just like I already had that shoe in, but it was also like, yeah, she knew. She was like, he's a good guy. He ended up graduating, doing all the good stuff, and so it was just like she treated me like her son as well. And I think that that made the difference. That really did make the difference.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like whatever it was that was going on then with this type of rebellion you're describing carries over to what you do now at all, or have you shifted into some totally new person? And you're like, I guess a follow-up question is like, do you have like an art philosophy or like a life philosophy that carries through your work too?
I do. And it's funny that like it didn't really like have like a firm place in my psyche until recently when I went to Vermont and I was out there, like I said, doing art, studying, working on a farm, and I read this book, which by the way is called Julius Lester, which is called Look Out Whitey, Black Power is Gonna Get Your Mama. And it's a good book. I highly recommend it.
Mama. My mom listens to this podcast.
But it was this part where it was like, in my philosophy, in my world, what it boiled down, especially like when it comes to blues music, was that a lot of blues musicians, they play because they didn't want to work on the field.
Yeah.
Like it was like I don't want to work on the field for the rest of my life, so I had to pick up the guitar. And granted, like there's also this reality in which it's like the reality of just like being black, being a man living in America is that like you kind of, even if you graduate and do all the right things, there's this sense of like your dignity, and your dignity is being sucked out of you just because you gotta get a 9-to-5 job and you gotta pay the bills. And a lot of times there's like these compromises that you make of just being like, I really want to do all this stuff, but yet like I have to go to work and I have to pay the bills. I have to be an adult. I have to go adulting. And I realized like my big philosophy is just like really like do art, fuck the rest. And that really is because like for me, as a black person, I'm never going to make as much money as a white person, regardless of how much school I make or how much school I have. We could have the same name, went to the same school, But the moment that they find out
same
that
grades.
he's same grades and everything, but the moment that they find out that he's white, or he might have even went to like a Ivy League, or his father did this, like he's gonna make. Statistically, they say for every $5 that a black person has, a white person has like $100.
Yeah.
So it was just like I started really realizing and just being like, I'm never going to be that model citizen in the grand scheme of things, of just being like the American dream will always just be a half-ass mediocre type deal, simply because we have these things like on it. It has nothing to do with the human aspect. It has everything to do with the system just being built that way. And it was just really me being like, fuck it, like, my life is really just gonna be, a crapshoot of just like hoping I can make as much money as I can, but never really like ultimately fitting into this box that America wants everybody to fit in. So it was just like my philosophy is just built into this idea that, like, at the end of the day, I am black, I am a man. The moment that I try to do this or try to do something like that, or even try to be different, they're gonna criticize me twice as much, simply because of who I am, be it good or bad. So it was just like, just don't worry about those things, and focus on being better at what you want to do. And even when it comes to like, you gotta pay the costs out there. You got to pay when it comes to playing the blues. It's like you got to pay the costs out there, and a lot of the times that cost is the symbolicness of like, you gotta come to the realization that like life is just gonna be hard. So you just better be really good at what you want to do, and be proud of it, and love it, and have a passion, because at the end of the day, like, life is just really short, and you really find I found like a sense of beauty, regardless of all the shit I'm going through in my life. Like, I find a sense of beauty, I find a sense of peace, I find a sense of comfort, knowing that at the end of the day, like, this is something that like can't, especially because I've self-taught myself how to play and read, can't nobody take that away from me. It didn't matter how much, people spend thousands of dollars to go to NYU or go to some prestigious school in Juilliard to pay somebody to teach them the same stuff that I done read at a book for $9, or borrowed from some library book. And it's just like, I couldn't get that opportunity because my parents just was like, look, if you're going to go to college, we can't help you, so good luck. And I was just like, I respect that and I appreciate that, because they did everything. But with that being said, it just made me realize, you got to be, a lot of times you got to be self-motivated versus like being socially influenced. At the end of the day, like, you just got to be self-motivated to even want to get up and go, because being me, the world doesn't even really care if you got up or paid a bill or did anything, because definitely for people like me, like, you could really just die the next day and life will still go on.
Yeah.
And so there's like this sense of just like, I might as well just really put forth and give this thing my all, because this would really be like all that I have at the end of the day.
Everybody's very different, but I do feel like what you're saying kind of does apply to everybody in a way, like the self-motivating thing. Like, I've talked to teachers. I have, like, I've been taught some things, and then some things I've self-taught myself. Mm-hmm. But some of the things that I've even been taught by my teachers, those exact teachers have told me, like, self-motivation is, like, way more important than anything I could give you.
Way more, yeah.
It's, because, at the end of the day, like, they can give you some views, some tools, some tricks. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have that self-motivation, you're just going to waste it, and that's...
Right. And a lot
of people do waste it. It's
a lot of people do.
Going into $100,000 worth of debt.
Right, and I couldn't... debt is another form of slavery for me. It was just like, what am I going to do if I spend all this time? And granted, I did. I went all 4 years of school and barely graduated. Didn't graduate, but barely even made it. And it was just like, I went all 4 years of college and still couldn't, because I was in debt. And it just made me be like, only for me to realize that like they don't care if you graduate or not. You still gotta pay $40,000.
They just want the money.
They just want the money.
I mean,
So
the institution remains there, right?
Right, the institution gonna remain there regardless. So
and the debt collectors are always gonna come. Yeah.
Yup. So it's just like, baby, you just
they
gotta...
come when you die. They come after your family members.
So it was just like you gotta be a little bit more like wanting, especially knowing that like they set this up for a reason. So my whole rebellion is just like I said, even referring back to my philosophy of just like you just gotta go out there and do it passionately and do it without like the sense of do it as if you're dancing and and no one's watching you. You know, play as if no one's watching you. Play as if, like, for me, I always refer to like the idea of just like being in my room by myself, just playing, and like I find myself back there every time I get back on the stage of just being like, you know, I'm not in front of anybody, or I am in front of people, and they expect a good job, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna play the way that like I remember how to play this when I was back in the room.
I imagine it's taking you a long time to get there because you've done busking, so it's like that's a skill unto itself where you start to learn how to command like strangers on the street, like we were talking about, not paying attention.
Right.
So you have that skill, you have that ability too.
Thank you.
But then you've come to a place where you're telling me you can just close your eyes and transport back to your room. That's right. It's interesting.
Transport myself back to this place where it's just like comfort. So
you don't like kind of like to pull out your emotions. You're not like singing to any one person, or are you? Do you feel like you're?
There's often times that like, and granted, I actually learned this from Iron Maiden. Is that like, you know, I'm not singing to the 4 or 5 people in front of me. I'm singing to the person in the back.
Right.
That, and especially in New York City, that might be passing by
That's
on the phone,
great
like
lesson.
looking through. Like I'm singing to that person. And even if they just pass by and they're not listening, like at least like I'm projecting in that greater sense of just being like out there. Like speak to the person that's like all the way in the back. That, like can't see in front of everybody else.
Yeah, if you can get the people who are like unlikely to pay attention, then you've got everybody else, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah, I mean there's a lot of interesting things to talk about in relation to that. I feel like just the nature of a challenge is like what pulls out something like primal from within. It's like if somebody's got their arms crossed and they're staring at you like that, you could shy away, or you could like rise and get stronger, you know. And like I feel like that. I could be wrong, but I feel like that makes a lot of that's what differentiates like really great musicians from, or performers I should say, from like adequate or subpar performers, or the ones who like rise to that and can like can get their attention.
Right.
And even if they can't get their attention, still put on a great fucking show, you know?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's been like a thing in the back of my head, is just like get to those people.
Yeah.
Because the people up in front, they already like you.
So so there you go, man. So all these things, you've obviously been doing a lot of this for a while. Even if you feel like you're new to it, you've been doing it hard for a while.
Yeah.
Probably practicing more than most people.
Well, yeah. Probably school, and she was the woman that like, we practiced. It was just like 2-a-days in football. You practice singing in the morning, and then when you got out of school, you went back into choir class and you practiced. And it was just like you practice because you love to do it, and then you play like you want to, like you play like you want to get paid. And then you
she
play,
tell you that back then?
Play like you want to get, even if you ain't gonna get paid, play like you want to get paid.
Nice.
That way, when somebody want to pay you, they already know what to expect.
Right.
And that's that. Like I said, that's like a marketing scheme. That's like a business move. But it doesn't. Like I said, it's not. I'm not worried so much about the money because I want to be good. But those things, those dynamics have to be acknowledged in order to have some type of motivation and be like, yeah, like I said, play like you want to eat. Play like if they ain't gonna feed you, if they ain't gonna put no money in your pocket, play like you about to get that free taco, that free burrito, and that free beer.
Yeah. Because
sometimes, especially like in my life and in a lot of other people's life, sometimes that'd be the only thing, you know. And so it makes a difference, and play like that.
Yeah. This is great. It's all great stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a funny game. I feel like artists, we have to trick ourselves sometimes into fucking,
Yeah.
just because it's a weird game that we have to play with the system, with ourselves, with our family members, with our loved ones,
Right.
just so we can be what we want to be and do what we want to do.
Right.
And I think it's very easy to lose sight, or even just be sedated by a good paycheck or whatever it is that's sedating you, whether it's drugs, entertainment,
or the people that like sit up and blow your head up in the first place. They be like, oh, you so good, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. You forget about the fact that you didn't got into it because you love to play, you love the people, you love to be with the people. So
yeah, people can, yeah, what you're saying, what are you saying? Like, people flatter you and then like try to take you in a weird different direction?
I feel like that has happened, and I feel like it can happen. I'm not expecting it, but I know that like that's just the nature of being a musician in the entertainment
Like,
industry.
you want to be open, but you want to be careful.
I want to be successful, but
Yeah.
I want to be humble, and I want to still remain like who I am as an individual, because especially when it comes to blues, is that like, this type of music is about being in touch with who you are. It's not about like all of these other things that like have little to do with the actual meaning of life. It actually has to do with like, being receptive, being a human being. Like a lot of the times, like with jazz music, a lot of the times the improvisation comes from the fact that like you're feeding off the energy that like you're receiving from the crowd.
Yeah.
And so like there's a certain type of space where it's just like I need to be almost in tune with myself, so that way I'm really kind of paying attention. But also it's just like I don't want to be the type of person where it's just like which I don't I don't necessarily think it might ever happen, because I think like blues music is kind of in this pocket where it's just like, yeah, you might make $1 million and stuff like that, but the essence of blues music is being, approachable, being cool, being savvy, and having people, being down to earth. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, I want to be like that. My favorite type of musicians, my favorite blues musicians are the ones that like on the documentaries, they like, that's my cousin over there, that's my brother over there, that's the little boy that we used to hang out. Now we all at the cookout and everybody's just hanging out, and that's the type of family I grew up with. So it's just like there's no need to like try to change who I am. I just want to get better at being me. Yeah.
I feel like I usually close out these episodes asking people to give advice to young creative people, or any creative people.
Yeah.
But I feel like everything you just said kind of did that. Do you have any like nugget of advice you could give to somebody?
Yeah. The only real advice that I would give to anybody is ditch the script. Stop.
Unless I wrote it and I give it to you.
Unless you wrote it and you gave it to me and it was an instruction manual and it was like how to open up this jar.
We're talking metaphorical script here.
But ditch the script.
Yeah.
Everybody's life is so uniquely different. I think that there's like 1 million books out there that like are trying to motivate you, and like even when I get on Instagram, there's like always these like rich people do this, poor people do that.
Lots of motivational memes.
Ways to be successful, ways to create passive income, and it's just like, man, ditch the script. And the moment that you ditch the script, that's when you have the real freedom to be like this is what I want to do and this is how I want to do it.
Look inside.
Look inside. Everybody's life is going towards this path, but nobody is on this set path where we're all just kind of like these are the steps that you have to like go through. Like if anything, like you're on this journey and you just want to get to where you want to be, to where you feel like this is where I feel good, this is where I feel at pace, this is where I feel comfortable. And a lot of the times I found myself having to really like go against the idea that like you got to do this, you got to get a job, you got to have a degree and stuff like that. And the reality of it is that those things just help sustain life, but it doesn't make life better. If anything, art, I really feel like art makes life better, and art makes people, creates the conversation. It creates a bridge between those that would never really step outside of their own bubble, but also perceive life to be a certain way. So art is this medium which it allows people to see so many different perspectives of life. And the more that you try to box yourself into this idea that, you know, it's supposed to go this way, you're supposed to have an artist contract, and you're supposed to like charge every promoter, or you're supposed to be like paying the play, or you're supposed to be like going to all these shows, or you're supposed to do all this stuff. Like in reality, you don't have to do all this stuff.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, the game is tricky.
The game is tricky,
and I agree. Like there is no one path. Like everybody's path is different, and especially for artists, we have to. We can't. Once we close off, we're at risk for missing. Yeah. It's not just missing opportunities. It's missing the path that we actually should take, or that we want to take. It's very tricky.
Right. Yeah. Right. It definitely is.
I feel like you gotta look inside. It's an intuitive thing. You gotta it's not logic. I'm a very logical person, and I think I will be good at business and getting money.
Yeah.
I continue to get better at it every day, but I'm still trying to stay in touch with like what is that? What intuitively, like what am I trying to get at?
Right.
Because if I'm logical about it, then I won't make art.
Right.
Like, art needs to stop if you're logical. Like capitalism. Does not art.
No, it's not. It's inherently against art.
Yeah, or it's just buying it out and using it to sell something stupid.
Right, exactly.
Or something good. I don't want to be a total asshole here, but
right. We still live in it, so it's almost like we're dependent on it. But at the end of the day, like
sometimes art is good. Just like I just want to hear your music right now. You know, I don't want some shit sold to me through your music. Although I will sell this podcast. Yo, man.
Yeah.
This is we definitely have over I think an hour and 30 minutes now. So
sweet.
Do you want to say anything else before we listen to some music?
No, I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of this. Shout out to everybody that listens. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And then also, just like I said, ditch the script. Do what you love. Do it fervently, and live life. So that's it. Thank you.
Yo, thank you. And you're all in for a treat right now, man.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they're about to hear.
Oh man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Call this take one.
Sweet. Okay.
So yeah, just go when you're ready, man.
This first song is an original. It's called Frida Kahlo.
I said Frida Kahlo, and I That woman put a spell on me. And I said Frida Kahlo. And that woman put a spell on me. But if only she lived in my century. But I think it's the way she smiles makes a man like me lose control now. I think it's the way she smiles makes a man like me lose control now. And I give a woman like her everything, including my wedding gold. See, I wanna die to love her, live with her in a Casa Azul now. And I wanna die to love her, live with her in a Casa Azul.
Right?
mustache and broken back and all.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point. This next piece is just for people out there that get to know me. I like to play this song, but it's about let's just get into it. It's called the Midwest Toast. It just goes like. Stuck at home. Driving 969 over someday you might die. And then a bar in your side that doesn't know your name or your blank stare. Let's say coffee house shirt at your coffee house work, 'cause you don't care. That it was growing up easy in a fast city. Just like this. Even when the bleachers feel like they were pulled out for you in your first kiss. Picture perfect houses, but with method on one. Perpetual schoolyard police. Now they live in prison halls. Gang signs on fences. Yeah, you think we're fighting overturn. Yet there's violence on every side, every side. Even in your safest neighborhoods. Let me tell you, people, though, it wasn't growing up easy in a fast city. It's like this. You had two options in your life. It's either hit or miss.
of shit. I think I go somewhere else, but they really are the same. 'Cause cities like Bloomington, I swear, man, all the rich white girls, they complain. Doesn't really matter though, 'cause it was growing up easy in a fast city like this. Living in close proximity to be where you should. It was growing up easy in a fast city just like this. Because the bleachers felt like they were pulled out for you, your first kiss. And I tell you people, it wasn't growing up easy in a fast city just like this. 'Cause you had two options in your life. Your life is either hit or miss.
Beautiful, man.
Thank you, thank you.
You do one more?
Yeah, this one though, you
mind if I
gotta.
push this in?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I'm just gonna need a moment in
Sure.
life.
Take all the moments, man. Which one are you gonna play next?
This is a song that I kind of wrote, but I have a special way of playing it. This is a blues song. Let's see. The song is called Correctional Facility Blues.
this morning, reading out loud the words you said. I got your letter this morning, reading out loud the words you said. Said you was in penitentiary, laying down in your bed. Spend your days reading books to keep your mind from going down. You spend your days reading books now to keep your mind from growing up. You say your days are long, and your nights leave you feeling dumb. You got a 23-hour lockdown and an hour to sun. You got 23-hour lockdown and an hour to sun. Even the crippled in the blind, they wanna break out and run. You hear the screams of grown men in the middle of the night. You hear the screams of grown men in the middle of the night. Even the warden and the guards don't know what to do or treat you right. Man, I miss you so much. Free all my niggas, y'all locked down now. Free all my niggas locked down. I miss you so much. Can't wait for you to get out, so your family can have a touch of you now. That's it right there.
Let me see that slide real quick.
You want me to do it again?
Yeah, can we
just show it?
Yeah, what is that?
That's a shot glass. Right there.
Nice.
Cerveza. Yeah, it's not bad. This is perfect. To have your fun. If your man get personal, then I want you to come and have your fun. Just come back to Fried Point Mama, and we can build a house all night long. Squeeze my lemon till the juice run up and down my leg. And I'ma rock you all night, mama, all up and down in your bed. That's an old blues ballad by Robert Johnson. It's called Traveling Riverside Blues. So yeah, that's an old song. I think Zeppelin even covered it one time.
Zeppelin?
Yeah, Led Zeppelin.
Shout out Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, shout out, man.
Yo, man. You doing another one?
Nah, I think that's
good.
Yeah.
That was great.
Right on, bro. Right
awesome,
on.
Man. Thank you.
Word. Thank you, man. Thank you.
What a privilege to be chilling here while you're playing. Bye.